Welcome, my amazing friend. Let me take you on a journey through time, across red deserts, snow-covered mountains, and the scent of mint tea floating through narrow alleyways. This is not just a story of a country. It is the heartbeat of an ancient people, a place where the ocean meets the sand, a land called Morocco. Long before Morocco had a name, before empires rose and fell, before kings wore crowns, there were people who walked this land with pride. They called themselves Amazigh, the free people. The world would come to know them as the Berbers. They were farmers, warriors, poets, and wanderers. They tamed the rough terrain, lived with the seasons, and wrote their history not with ink, but in stories passed down from grandmother to grandson. Their voices echoed through the valleys of the Atlas Mountains and rode with the wind across the vast Sahara. But change, like a traveler on camelback, always arrives. Around 1100 BCE, strangers appeared on the coast. They came by sea, their ships slicing through waves like knives through butter. They were the Phoenicians, great sailors and traders from the east. With them they brought colors, spices, and gods carved in stone. They built trading posts along the Moroccan coast, laying the foundation for something new. These small ports became windows to the world. Soon, another power grew in the region. Carthage, founded by the Phoenicians, but ruled with ambition and fire. The Carthaginians expanded their influence deep into North Africa, including parts of Morocco. But then came the mighty Romans. By the 1st century BCE, Rome had cast its shadow over Morocco. They called it Mauritania and brought with them straight roads, grand arches, and tiled baths. The city of Volubilis rose from the earth, its columns reaching for the sky. It became a symbol of Roman order and power. Yet, beyond the cities, the Berbers remained wild and free. They never bowed to Rome in spirit, even if they sometimes bowed in form. When the Roman Empire crumbled, the cities fell silent. Roads cracked, statues shattered, but the people endured. Then came a new light from the east, a message carried on the tongues of travelers and warriors. Islam had arrived. In the 7th century, Arab armies swept across North Africa. They came not just with swords, but with the words of the Prophet Muhammad. The Berbers listened. They were moved. They embraced Islam, not as conquerors or servants, but as equals. And in that moment, Morocco was reborn. In the year 788, a man fled the violence of the East and arrived in the West. His name was Idris, a descendant of the Prophet himself. The Berbers saw in him a leader, a holy man, and a hope. Together, they built a kingdom. The Idrisid dynasty was born, and with it, the first truly independent Islamic Moroccan state. They chose Fes as their capital, and the city blossomed like a rose in the desert. Fes became more than a capital. It became a center of knowledge, faith, and beauty. In 859, a woman named Fatima al-Fihri founded the University of Al-Qarawiyyin, a place of learning that still stands today, the oldest existing university in the world. Morocco had become a light in the dark, a beacon in the storm. But every flame attracts winds of change. In the 11th century, a new force rose from the south, the Almoravids, fierce Berber warriors from the Sahara. They believed Islam had grown too soft, too luxurious. They wanted to purify it. Under their leader, Yusuf ibn Tashfin, they built a vast empire, stretching from the Senegal River in Africa to the heart of Spain. They founded the city of Marrakesh, a city that would one day be called the Red Pearl of the South. They brought law, religion, and architecture that danced between the practical and the divine. But no kingdom lasts forever. By the 12th century, a new wave of reformers appeared, the Almohads. They overthrew the Almoravids and brought their own vision of Islam. They ruled with strength, building mosques with towering minarets, like the Qutubiyya Mosque that still stands proudly today. They created a golden age of art, science, and philosophy. Time, however, is a patient thief. As centuries passed, Morocco saw the rise of many dynasties. The Marinids, who made Fez sparkle with schools and scholars. The Wattasids, who struggled to keep the land united. And the Saadians, who restored Morocco's might. Under the rule of Ahmad al-Mansur, the Saadians defeated the Portuguese in the Battle of the Three Kings, a victory so powerful it echoed through the deserts. His troops marched all the way to Timbuktu, claiming gold and glory. But gold fades, glory dims. In the 17th century, a new dynasty rose, the Alawites. Descended from the Prophet, they brought peace and stability after centuries of conflict. They built palaces, negotiated with European powers, and tried to protect Morocco from the hungry eyes of the world. That dynasty still rules today. Yet Morocco could not escape the storm that swept across Africa in the 19th and 20th centuries. European nations, France, Spain, Britain, began carving up the continent like a pie. Morocco was under pressure. France took control of the center. Spain claimed the north and south. In 1912, Morocco was officially divided, its independence stolen. But the Moroccan soul could not be conquered. Even under colonial rule, resistance grew. Some resisted with weapons, others with words. Abdelkrim al-Khattabi became a legend, leading a guerrilla war against the Spanish in the Rif Mountains. He declared the Republic of the Rif, a symbol of defiance. Though short-lived, it shook the world. In cities and villages, people whispered the dream of freedom. They passed it from mouth to ear, from mother to child. Finally, in 1956, that dream became real. King Mohammed V, beloved by his people, led Morocco to independence. Crowds filled the streets, flags waved, prayers were whispered. Morocco was free again. But freedom brought challenges. King Mohammed's son, Hassan II, took the throne and ruled for nearly 4 decades. He was strong and ambitious, but also feared. There were uprisings, there were dark years, but there was also progress. Morocco built schools, roads, and universities. It opened its doors to the world. Today, Morocco is led by King Mohammed VI. Under his leadership, the country has modernized while holding tightly to its soul. High-speed trains rush from Casablanca to Tangier. Solar fields bloom in the desert. The Medinas of Fes and Marrakesh remain alive, ancient yet beating with energy. And yet, Morocco is more than its kings, more than its battles. It is a place of poetry, spirit, and pride. It is the blue alleys of Chefchaouen, the silence of the Sahara under a sky full of stars, the music of Gnawa echoing from ancient drums, and the laughter of children playing in dusty courtyards. It is a country where history lives not just in books, but in the stones, the songs, and the souls of the people. From the Roman ruins of Volubilis to the golden sands of Merzouga, from the Kasbahs of Ait Ben Haddou to the Atlantic waves crashing against Essaouira, Morocco whispers stories to those who listen. It is a place where tradition meets tomorrow, a bridge between Africa and Europe, between the past and the future. This is Morocco, the kingdom of the desert and the sea, a story still being written,